What's going on, everybody? Thank you for watching another episode of Mi Casa Su Casa, where we are interviewing progressive candidates, political pundits, and others to ask them about their journeys into their respective fields of progressive activism. Today, I have for you a very, very special guest. He is the former candidate for the president. Yes, the actual president of the United States of America. I have no idea how the hell he was going to serve that term. He's really young, but it's the principle. Okay, it's the principle of it. He was very, very successful. He almost won. He's also currently running for Broward County School Board at large, which is a huge deal, probably bigger than the president because he actually would have more control at the school board level than he would as a president anyway. And so, once again, I would like to introduce Elijah Manley. How you doing, Elijah?
Good. I'm doing really good. Thank you again for inviting me on.
Oh, of course, man. Of course. It was a pleasure. Last time we did the show together, everybody loved you and everybody kept telling me to have you back on. I always said that I'm going to have you back on soon when I start doing my interviews again. So I'm glad that you joined us, man. How have you been? What have you been up to? Are you still running for office? How has that, debacle been?
I am. I've just been trying to comfort my friends in the wake of the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School, and that's been a, ride in the park so far.
Yeah, man. As you all know, me and Elijah live really close to each other, and that school shooting was right down the street from us. And I think even crazier, Elijah actually had interactions with him for an entire semester.
Yep, entire semester we sat next to each other. And that was a pretty interesting semester, I'll say.
What did he display any behaviors that would make you be like, look, y'all need to talk to this kid because he's a little off?
Absolutely. I could see through him at that time just as much as any psychologist would. He, carried dead insects with him, and he tried to show you dead lizards in class. And it's like, I tried to stay away from him because
wow. He used to. Okay, so you're saying that he used to carry dead insects with him and dead lizards, and because that's a part of this. I mean, a lot of people were talking about, his parents hit that situation and how he had like girl problems. But I think that that's usually the signs of a serial killer, if I'm not mistaken, someone who kills or mutilates animals. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know back in when I was in high school, when we had a situation like that, a few situations like that, if somebody actually displayed that type of behavior, we were told to tell the principal or the teacher. Did y'all ever communicate that to anybody who was of any authority or anything like that?
Oh, they absolutely knew. He had, classes that were designed specifically for behavioral emotional behavioral disorders, and he got a counselor. Everybody had a counselor at that time.
Yeah.
And he had specific people that would work with him.
That's wow, man.
So they knew about it. They knew about this ahead of time. They knew he was someone who they needed to monitor and watch closely. And there's so many, I think it was completely preventable. And there's so many things I think both the district and the state could have done to prevent this.
Yeah. And
to give him the services he needed during that time period.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like he really fell through the cracks. That's really what it seems like. It was preventable. Absolutely. They could have, especially if he was having issues at that school. I know he was expelled. I don't even know how he got back on campus. I know if you're I remember if you got kicked, if you were not allowed at a football game when I was in high school, they would catch you as soon as you pulled into the parking lot, it seems like. And they let this kid walk in. It wasn't a big deal. Wow. So, and this is the first time I've heard you mention that particular aspect of the conversation. I can't believe that this was allowed.
Not enough. And it goes back to there not being enough funding from the state to school districts to address mental health. There's a total of $65 million the state of Florida is spending on all 67 counties for mental health programs. $65 million for 67 counties. That's nowhere near enough. That equates down to $800,000 a piece. That's not enough to deal with mental health issues that students may have, or to hire counselors or psychologists, or to do anything in that matter. So the state failed us.
You say the state failed us.
The state has failed the children of Broward County, of Stoneman Douglas. 17 lives lost at the hands of policymakers not only with who were supposed to make sure the gun laws were, make sure a 19-year-old with mental health illnesses does not get an AR-15. I mean, I think that should be obvious.
That's even another question I think that should be answered. How the hell could a mentally unstable character he had a misdemeanor, correct? Did he already have the charges?
I think so, because the cops were called to his house like 30-something different times.
Yeah.
39 different times.
So how the hell did he get an AR-15?
That's the $1 million question. They say he legally bought it. Because in Florida, the gun laws are so relaxed that, unless you voluntarily committed yourself, you can still go out and buy an AR-15, you can buy a shotgun, anything from age 15 on, but you can't buy a pistol until you're 21. So you can buy a machine gun and you can lay out hundreds of people.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
But you can't have a handgun.
God forbid. I bet nobody's ever committed a damn massacre with a pistol. You might have got 1 or 2 people, but the odds are you probably got taken down before you could get off the 3rd round. Like, I feel like so there's a lot of speculation about whether or not he was the only shooter. Have you heard about that? I'm sure you knew some of the kids there.
Yeah. I've talked to kids who, I had a student actually reach out to me, and they knew I was a candidate and they knew I was following the story. And they were asking me what I thought about there being 2 shooters, like an accomplice, because one of the students apparently said that the shooter was with her at the time of the shooting.
Yeah,
which I haven't looked into all of it.
Alexis Needage or something like that, or it's I know what you're talking about though.
It could be. It could be a misunderstanding. I know, like during traumatic events like this, some people get the details mixed up, or they can over exaggerate, or there might have been. I mean, I know the FBI and the sheriff's office is still doing an investigation into that. I won't know anything until I get more details on that matter.
Yeah. I was curious because, 17. It was I agree. Like, people can get things mixed up, right? Especially when you're adrenaline's pumping. But what was interesting to me, it was like how casual she said. She was like, yeah, I was just walking up to him. She didn't even know he was a suspect. Apparently, whenever she had just heard at that point that he was a suspect. She didn't know. So she didn't think anything of it when she spoke to him. And she was like, yeah, literally as like I was walking up, like 2 shots went off, which wouldn't make any sense because that would mean he would have to throw an AR-15 across the hall or hide it. And I don't know what the schematics of the school look like, but I would have to first find out when they found him, did he have the gun on him or did he hide the gun? 2, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know if they released that yet. But.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty legitimate question, right? Where the hell was the gun?
Right. Right.
When do those type of people survive? Like when, like they either get, well, not every time, but they usually either kill themselves or they get killed. But usually you don't stop after 17 people. That's a really random number to stop at, unless he just magically came to his senses. Like, he's going to get the death penalty anyway. So why would you? It just is a really weird. It's a really weird scenario, and I would love to see more details about it as the story develops. But I am curious as to how somebody.
I'm sure in the next week or so, or even less than that, there'll be a lot more details, a timeline at least of what happened. We know he took an Uber to the school. We know he then got in around dismissal and he pulled the fire alarm to lure the students out of the classrooms to make them easier targets. And we also know after he finished shooting up the school, he blended in with the students, which I don't know how he could have done that. And then he made his way to Walmart. He went and got something to eat from Subway. All of this time he had, and I think there should have been a larger, the response should have been a lot quicker. I think so. And the district should have.
That's crazy.
And he went to Walmart.
Did they say what for yet? Did they release that?
No, I think a lot of the kids, like, once they got off the campus, I believe some of them went to Walmart. So he blended in with the students. Then he went to Walmart and Subway. He got something to drink. But then he was apprehended shortly after that.
So then I guess my next question would be, are they sure it's him?
I think the students are sure. So,
That's my question. You get what I'm saying?
According to them, they have video footage in the school, like the cameras, which they're going to release sometime soon once the FBI gets done examining it.
We'll see how that goes. We know how long we can end up waiting for some damn video footage.
It's too damn long.
Especially if they can answer the question. It's like, oh, if you release that video footage, it will solve all the problems. And they're like, hold on. You're right. We can't release that yet.
At this point, I think the FBI already knows who the person was, because they identified him in the video. But they're probably looking to see if there was an accomplice, because that was in the news recently too. Because he could have, there could have been.
It hasn't been in national news though. It's only been in our local news.
Right.
Which is
we don't know yet.
Like, but that's a big deal, right? That's a big ass deal. Because that means that it means that someone likely encouraged him to do it. That's what kind of bothers me about it. That's what's kind of was putting, like, that's a well thought out plan, right? And clearly the kid had issues. I'm not saying that wasn't apparent, but people who have issues are the first ones to be taken advantage of. Right. And that's what's bothering me, especially you pay attention to politics and social events as much as I do. And that it seems like every time there's about to be a major election or a primary election or a interim election, something like this happens. Or whenever there's a big piece of legislation being talked about, something like this happens. And every single time we've come to find out the FBI could have prevented it and did not. So
the FBI absolutely failed. They were too busy trying to investigate Black identity extremists or Antifa than investigating a known white supremacist. Who was literally saying,
"Go ahead."
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that Jimmy Dore actually said, the people who are pushing the Russiagate bullshit, they're killing they're literally killing themselves and shooting themselves in the foot, because the more you empower the FBI and give them that mandate to just do what the fuck they want to because they have FB and I in their initials, the more it will come back to hit us, because the FBI, they forget what Russia, quote unquote, is associated with, or who's been associated with the idea of a quote unquote Soviet Russia, or just as an enemy superpower. Like any black liberation movements were associated with communist Russia. Any feminist movements, any social justice movement whatsoever, labor movements, all of that was all associated with communist Russia, and it's still being investigated.
Right. It's not communist anymore.
Yeah.
It's not communist anymore. It's crony capitalism.
Yeah, it's pretty much not. It's not any different than. Yeah, I'm about to say it's not any different than ours. It's not uniquely worse than ours. It's probably not worse than ours. I would even venture to say that our government is just as shitty. Like, yeah, Putin maintains power. He might have corrupted the elections to some degree, but what I'm starting to notice is that
we do that everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We do that everywhere.
Exactly. And then what I am starting to notice too is if we look at a Fidel Castro type of character, people believe that he was a dictator, and it seems to me that everybody that I talk to that has lived in Cuba recently, which they're few and far between, they don't describe him as a dictator. They describe him as not even a necessary evil, but a necessary presence, because he didn't make later in his career, he didn't have to make a lot of decisions. He had a 50-50 legislature. He had one of the best medical systems in the world. People
and education and a way.
I was about to say, people from all over the world go to Cuba to study medicine, which is dope. Like, and they felt like because he understood the imperialism that came from the West, specifically the United States, that he felt like he needed to stay, and people agreed with him. And given what we know, I'm not surprised. So with Putin, they probably feel the same way. Like, the West is conniving. We're sneaky. The U.S. specifically is conniving and sneaky. We didn't work with the Ukrainian government. We were working with the Ukrainian oligarchs. Like, every time we claim that we want to go protect the country, it had nothing to do with the country itself. We could have been invaded.
We're helping the capitalists in the country, exactly. The business sector. We're not helping governments or people or anything. We're not liberating anything, because what stake does it have with us at all? Like,
exactly.
Why are we in the Ukraine? Why are we messing around with Libya?
Oh man, and Obama invested millions, actually billions, into putting troops in the Eastern European area. For what? You know, like
no reason.
For what? And it's because we are trying to establish control. Yes, we're trying to establish control. But on a more positive note, well, depending on what side you look at that fence, how is your candidacy been coming? How's the campaign going?
It's going good. We temporarily paused it so we could, direct all our resources and operations and like helping the community recover there.
Yeah.
Because the kids and their families are still traumatized by this.
Yeah,
I've spoken to two of the parents already who lost their child, and that was really hard to do myself. But they're going to get better. Things are going to get better for them and their community. Mm-hmm. And I'm just hoping everybody just come together and try to come up with some solutions to this. There's some simple solutions to this that I've been talking about for 4 years with that school and other schools in particular that needed to be secure. And I found out some information in regards to that school that I've been talking about for a while that needs to change the entire conversation. And I don't know why national news is not reporting it. Maybe they don't want to hear my voice. But, that particular school had 470 work orders or complaints and work orders that needed to be done. 270 of those work orders had to do with safety. That school put in a work order for a single point of entry in 2007. It was last reviewed in 2011. It's 2018. They still don't have a single point of entry. You mean to tell me now it takes a shooter to come into a campus for the district to say, oh, yeah, we might need to knock this building down, or we might need to have a single point of entry? And this is stuff I've been talking about for years. It took them over a year to fix a broken window. They need new fire sprinklers and fire alarms, new cameras. Yeah. This is a school who was not safe. We thought it was safe because it was in a upper class neighborhood, but we let our guard down.
Hell, with schools now, I think I would feel as far as safety is concerned, I would feel safer in the hood. I'm not worried about getting, shot up in the hood from a mass murderer. I don't think that's ever happened. I've been worried about maybe getting chased after school, perhaps getting jumped for my new shoes, whatever. You can have them shits, but I ain't never been worried about coming to my school and getting shot up. And it seems to be, once again, a problem within the upper middle class community. And mental health issues tend to run rampant, actually, in the upper middle class community.
And there's not enough funding at all to address it. Like the state's not giving anything.
The state, and also because of the way the economics in our country works, being upper middle class to lower upper middle class, if you will, there's no way in hell you can afford the services you need. Because insurance costs too much. Then once you can finally pay for your insurance, your deductible costs too much. Then once you finally get the deductible paid off, well, the year just fucking flew by. So now you have to start your deductible all over again. So it's a self-perpetuating cycle. It's ridiculous. So I guess
that's what it does. The district has a lot of responsibility to take for this too. They can't push it all on Congress and the state and deflect, because I've been going to those school board meetings getting dragged out for years.
Yeah, that's what I say. You know more than anybody how much responsibility lies on the school district. And so speaking of which, when is your election?
August. And I think that the voices of these younger people who are angry, who are pissed off, who are talking in the news today, who are protesting, doing national walkouts now, and like the walkout yesterday at several of the schools, including South Broward High School, I think that will change the political landscape in Broward County quite a bit. If not this year, it will in 2020. And I think that's a good thing, because these kids are angry. And I've spoken to many of them, and they're not, and a lot of people, I'd be surprised if a lot of people are not getting reelected. Those young ladies are not playing when they say, sit the hell down or stand up. These are policies that should have been talked about for a long time, but it's only talked about on the left too. It's only talked about when there's a mass shooting or when there's an election. They don't talk about this.
Well, it's only talked by them, but you've been talking about this stuff. I've been talking about it. I had you on my show, and you were speaking about the allocation of resources and how students are largely going, just unnoticed, and the district isn't caring about them. And then the money's disappearing to somebody else's pockets, and then situations like this happen. right? What a coincidence. You've said this, and you're not the only one, of course, but you're the
I said
only
it at the school
candidate
board
who's
meeting when
ever talked about it.
Right. And when that was a warning call I told them in 2016 when that young man came to school with a gun at Coral Springs High School and they apprehended him before he could do anything in 2016. That was a warning sign that they should have took action then. The principal, the area manager for that district kept talking about why they needed a single point of entry. That school to this day, it's only a few miles, not even 2 miles away from Stoneman Douglas High School. That school today still does not have a single point of entry and still needs work orders still has work orders that need to be complete. So Stoneman Douglas, Coral Springs High, which I talked about, and so many others still lack safety or the infrastructure to be safe. And now they're talking about, the superintendent is now talking about knocking down the building where a shooting occurred at Stoneman Douglas High School. But he's doing that so he can detract from the real story, which is you should have had a single point of entry
trying to
at
knock
that school.
down Douglas High School? Is that why? I don't get it.
Not the entire high school, but one of the buildings in the high school, which is one of the buildings.
That's the weirdest reaction to a school shooting that I have ever seen. Is that what?
Because it's a bad scene. We don't want the students returned to the scene. What he's trying to do is cover up for the lack of action, his lack of action.
Man,
that specific building has dozens of work orders.
If you get elected, can you fire him? Is that what's in your power?
I mean, we can.
Oh, you can. Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Keep that in mind, by the way. Yeah, I think you should keep that in mind. I feel so. I do want to say this. I know a lot of have you gotten Our Revolution's endorsement yet?
Not yet. I think I filled out a national questionnaire, but I think I have to fill out a local Our Revolution Broward's endorsement.
Yeah, you did that.
I think I did it, but they have a form, but I have to fill out some other questionnaire. I do think I should have that endorsement. There's no reason why I should.
I would hope so. But I know a lot of people get worried because election fraud is obviously charged. Now it's for Bod. Okay. Yeah. But a lot of people are worried about election fraud and election rigging, and a lot of national races tend to be more susceptible to that than the local races, I would say. In fact, the interim race, if you're running for a local election, this is the time to do it. And I think Elijah's a good example of that because you get to connect with the people. And the only way that they're going to go out there and vote for you and make sure that you go out and win is by connecting to them. The empty foo-foo, blah, blah, blah. I believe in what you believe in, black and white, all that bullshit. It doesn't really work.
Politics.
Yeah, politics as usual. It doesn't really work if you have a candidate like Elijah who goes out and connects. So I have a lot of confidence that Elijah's going to pull this off. And you need to watch carefully.
We got it. I think that energy coming from these students is going to not just carry me to the KC Wright administration building, but I think a lot of them are going to be coming with me because I think a lot of them are going to start running for office. And
when they're 18, they're allowed to vote in that school board election, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Have you been campaigning like at the school and going up and talking to students and all that?
I haven't been campaigning because I don't want to campaign during the tragedy.
Don't do that.
But before the shooting, I've been at the schools. I've been the only candidate actually going to the school, speaking, addressing students, and addressing teachers' needs. I actually was going to be going to Stoneman Douglas High in March, but I don't think I'm going to be going there in March due to the shooting.
So I mean, and this is just me. I think that that would be actually a perfect time to engage them, and not necessarily about running for office, but you don't even have to talk about running for office. All you have to talk about, you can mention the fact that you're a candidate, of course, but what you should be talking about, in my opinion, is the fact that this was totally preventable, and for them to start putting pressure on these superintendents, on these principals, on these teachers. I mean, everybody involved who, like I said, if you as a student noticed something that was seriously wrong with this guy, then the rest of the world could have seen that if they had ever made any contact with them. And I think that would be a good conversation to have from a fellow student who is just there, who could have been a victim as easily as any of the other 17. Because he did it this year, but who knows? Maybe 2 years ago he could have did it then.
Right. I could have been sitting in the room when it happened. It could have happened to anybody.
Exactly. And I think that having a candidate who is actively involved in politics for this very reason, to prevent this very thing, and who is their age, who is just in their shoes, I think would do a lot to galvanize them and get them involved in the long run. Because I think that's more important than even, like I said, I don't want to say go and talk to them about your campaign, but I would definitely still go and talk to them, because I just, if I was them sitting in their shoes and I saw someone my age telling me, look, this was preventable, and you don't have to be 45 and a superintendent to prevent things like that. You can start taking your time, spending it wisely, and doing your part now, so that this doesn't happen to someone else who looks like you and is your age.
I absolutely think a lot of these young people are going to, I mean, we've seen that with one of the young ladies, Sarah, who's one of the loudest on Twitter, who's letting the president know how she feels about this.
What's her name, Sarah?
Sarah, I'm not sure what her last name is. I want to say Sarah Chadwick, I believe.
Okay.
She was one of the students at the school who lost a few close ones in the shooting. Her friends, people, she would have been going to prom with, and grad bash with, and enjoying her time with. Now she would never see them, and now their year is crumbled. So she's been really loud on this.
She's trending on Twitter
David,
right now.
Yep, Sarah. Then there's David Hawk. Who's the young man with the communications and reporting team at Stoneman Douglas High, who's been talking about a lot of these issues lately. And this is the peak of youth involvement that I've been talking about. When I talk about youth revolution, people thought I was playing, but this is the youth revolution. This is young people standing up and saying, you know what, we had a goddamn enough of this.
Yeah.
We had enough of this. The adults in power have felt the young people. You guys have the power, and you can't be blaming the younger people and the children for something you have the power to change.
Absolutely.
You have the relaxed gun laws. The kids didn't vote for the relaxed gun laws where you could just get an AR-15 and shoot up a school. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them start running for political office this year.
Man, I would love to see them start running for political office this year. Well, that's going to be all the time we have for today. Look, man, thank you so much for coming back on and sharing your experiences. And also, of course, thank you once again for running for office. You are indeed an inspiration. I hope you do win, but even if you didn't, I mean, the reason that Elijah is an inspiration, because even if he didn't win, he's still going to be back out there in about 3 months after a little recovery period. He's going to be running for something else. That's just the kind of guy he is.
I think I'll win this one.
Oh, I think you're going to win it too. I think I'm going to win it too, man. If you need a bodyguard, it's been a while since I've been out the gym, man, but hey, look, you can call me up. I don't work for free, though. All right, do enough journalism for free. But thanks so much, man. Thanks so much for coming on, and good luck. Keep us updated with your elections.
Oh, well.
All right.
Absolutely. Man. Thank you.
And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.